Hello, lovely folks of YouTube. Ren here. So I want to talk about a book. This is not a green witchcraft book or anything like that. I'm kind of diverging from my usual thing, but this book so impressed me that I just have to talk about it. I've read a lot of books. As you can see, like all these books that are behind me are books that I've actually read. I have another stack of books that I haven't read yet, but these are ones that I have read. They're all witchcraft books of varying types. I've read a lot of books. It's very rare for me to find a book, particularly a newer book, that introduces a new concept that's completely just mind-blowing and groundbreaking for me. But this book did, which is why I absolutely have to talk about it. So this book, I got this book from the Witch's Book subscription that I get through the Witch's Box. This is not a paid promotion for that. I paid for this book. I am a paid subscriber. I just love this so much that I had to talk about it. This is The Great Wheel, Winter by Joe Graham. Rituals to Thrive in the Dark Cycle of the Cyclical. Okay. This is actually a companion book to the other book that Joe Graham has written, which is simply The Great Wheel. I don't have that book, but I'm getting it for Yule because this book was so good. I have to have it now. So this book introduces a completely new concept. The saculum is not something that you hear about. It's not something that people talk about in a lot of pagan stuff, but it is a historical concept that is originally from Etrusco-Roman belief system. And the saculum was basically a period of time, roughly about 80 years or so. The way the Romans understood the saculum to be is that whenever you had a momentous event in history, the saculum is from the time of that event until the last person who had physically witnessed that event died. So basically, it's about a human lifespan. That's what they understood the saculum to be. And that's why we say the saculum was about 80 years, because that's about the average human lifespan. There are some sociologists, and I can't remember, Strauss and someone else. They built on this to create what they call the fourth turning generational theory, which is a concept that the saculum is still present. And if you look back through human history, you can see a pattern to this that roughly occurs about every year. A pattern of, there's a high in society, and then there's sort of like an awakening towards new understanding, and then there's a general unraveling of society, and then finally society reaches a crisis. And then once that crisis is resolved, we then enter another high period. So they saw this repeating cycle. And they took a lot of flack for it because linear concept of time is not something that most people are very familiar with, But of course, Joe Graham, the author, who I had the good fortune to sit in on a video conference call with her, as she mentioned, obviously the authors of this theory must not have known any pagans. So, because we are all about cyclical theories of time. What Joe Graham does in this book is she takes that fourth turning theory and sort of overlays the wheel of the year on top of that. So we can see a larger cycle of about 80 years in length that sort of follows the wheel of the year as well. This particular book is for the cycle that we are currently in, which is Imbolc, which corresponds to that crisis cycle on the fourth turning theory. So, amazing book. Oh my gosh, I am like gushing over this book. I'm losing my train of thought because I'm like so excited about this book. But anyway, so this book basically, it gives a lot of rituals and ideas for how to get through the rest of this winter that we're in socially, okay, and just as a culture. She starts with sort of a look back, giving you reflections to look back on how things were at this time in the cycle previously. And you do that through the people that you have connections to, family, friends, basically looking, for the stories of some of the oldest people and how they would have gotten through the time roughly about 80 years ago, which would have been about World War II time. So there are not a lot of people who were still alive now who were alive during that time, but if hopefully when we were younger, they may have been alive and they may have shared some stories or experiences with us that we can kind of look back on and use to reflect on basically how they got through that time based on what we know of what they did. So that was really cool. The next part she goes through is sort of rituals and techniques to create a safe haven for sort of weathering out this storm. Sort of making your home a safe place, ways to increase the safety of others in the community, just things like that, which I thought was amazing. And then finally she gives you, and I'm sorry, my cat is in here. She desperately wanted to be in here and now she desperately wants to get out because it's cat. So hi, meet Persephone. Anyway, the last thing that Jo gives, and I'm sorry, I'm being a little familiar, but I feel like I've met her, so therefore I can use her first name. The last thing that she mentions is sort of, rituals to sort of look forward to the spring that is eventually going to happen. This crisis that we're in now is not forever. It may last longer than we would like. We may not see an end to this for several years yet, if we're looking at historically. But it will end, and we need to plan for that end and sort of, tuck away our hope for the future and encourage it, find things that we want to keep through this crisis and make sure that we can grow those things when the spring finally comes. So I loved this book. I loved it so much. Like I said, it kind of blew my mind. I had to share this book because I was so excited about it. I gushed all over this book on the Blue Star Discord forum because it's just that good. There is a small con that I found that personally it wasn't a con for me, but others may find it. A lot of the ritual formats that she gives, she uses Roman deities in them, which if you don't use deities in your practice or you don't use Roman deities would definitely be a con for your personal practice. Personally, my primary deities are the Etrusco-Roman deities, that I work with. So for me, I was like, oh, cool. This is all stuff that is basically ready-made for me. I can use this. Absolutely. So, but that may not be the case for you. But yeah, golly, this book was just, I loved it so much. So I had to share. I may provide a link to the Witch's box. I don't know. That feels really weird. You can find it though. If that's a thing that interests you, it is a subscription. I pay money for it every month. They give me 2 books. I have no idea what books they're going to send me. I actually like that because it gives me books that otherwise I might have flown under my radar. Like, this is a book that I never would have considered picking up. Like, even if I had seen this book, I'd have been like, But I got this book in my subscription and I was like, well, it's mine now. I'm going to read it. And oh my gosh, it was so good. So I'm really happy for that. And that's really why I like the subscription, is because it gives me those books that otherwise I may have passed up. And there have been some books that, I haven't really appealed to me, but I have friends who I know would like them. So it's really, really enjoyable for that. So yeah, it's fun stuff. And then you get to, once a month you get to talk with the authors too, which is also a cool little perk bonus there. So, but anyway, wanted to share. I don't think I have anything else to say other than it's a really exciting book and I highly recommend it. So anyway, that's all I have for today. As always, love y'all. Stay safe out there, and I hope I'll see you again soon.